Okay, in this video, I'm going to be predicting UFC Fight Night Nassourdine Imavov versus Caio Borralho. I'm just going to be doing the main card, starting with Patricio Pitbull versus Lucien Kita. So, I think Lucien Kita is going to win this fight, even though he's making his UFC debut from Octagon. Patricio Pitbull is not a seasoned vet in the UFC by any means whatsoever either. He has two fights in the UFC, one against Yair Rodriguez, which he lost, embarrassingly in my opinion, and the second one against Dan Ige, which he recently won. In that fight, he looked decent, he looked good, he utilized his grappling well. I just think Dan Ige in that fight was not aggressive whatsoever. He wasn't doing what he needed to win. He wasn't pushing a pace whatsoever. He wasn't doing what he needed to like get Patricio Pitbull worried about anything or applying anything to Patricio Pitbull's weaknesses at all. I think his biggest weakness is his age, which means his cardio, which means his chin. I think you got to put a kind of a pace on him. And I think the grappling kind of stalled Ige out. I think Lucien Kita is powerful enough to stuff the takedowns of Patricio Pitbull and keep it standing on the feet. He's had weird situations in the grappling in the past. He's almost been choked out in the past. He's had weird ground game moments in the past. But I think Lucien Kita is going to be powerful enough at this point in his career, coming off the momentum that he is against Patricio Pitbull, who is coming off a win, but he's just old. And I think that's eventually going to start catching up to him. And I just really didn't like the way Danny Ige looked in that fight comparatively to what I would like to see out of Lucien Kita, which is what I think is going to happen. Lucien Kita is going to be very aggressive. He's going to go for the knockout. He always kind of does that. He pushes forward a lot and he strikes. He's not going to try to grapple. He's going to try to strike. He's going to try to knock him out in a pretty sloppy way, but it works to a degree. He has finishes. He has knockouts. He has power. I think he's going to be able to stop Patricio Pitbull in the second or third round. He might have some weird grappling exchanges. I think he'll get up. I think he'll start to push a pace. I think Patricio Pitbull's cardio will start to fail him. I think Lucien Kita will find the chin. Hot take. Next. Axel Sola versus Reese McKee. So Axel Sola, from what I've seen of him, which is not very much, he's also making his UFC debut, is that he's sloppy. He's willing to fucking bang. He's 10-0, so he's undefeated, so he knows how to win. The thing is, I just think Reese McKee is going to win this fight. I think Reese McKee has been in the game a lot longer. He's way more experienced. Axel Sola, he has potential. I don't think he's refined enough to beat a seasoned guy like Reese McKee, even though Reese McKee is not the best fighter of all time whatsoever. He's making it close with pretty good fighters like Chidi Njokuani and Angel Lusa, even though Angel Lusa sucks. Chidi Njokuani's not that bad. I just think Reese McKee has been around the block a bit longer. I just think he's going to be better in the striking. Axel Sola is sloppy as fuck. He has struggles with cardio at times as well. I think this one's mainly going to come down to UFC experience. And Axel Sola is not the Patricio Pitbulls, Lucien Kitas, Michael Chandler's, I guess. These guys coming from other promotions that are actually seasoned, actually good. I just don't think Axel Sola is going to be able to do it. I think Reese McKee is going to utilize his UFC time to game plan a good fight against Axel Sola and probably beat him by decision. Yeah, I don't know much about Axel Sola, to be honest. Next, Balaji versus Mason Jones. So, I think Balaji is going to win this fight, which is a little weird, I know. Mason Jones is a small, powerful grappler of a guy. He beat Jeremy Stephens in his last fight, and he did it dominant. He won the fight clearly, very clearly. Jeremy Stephens gave him a little bit of trouble with his wild style. Mason Jones had to kind of adjust a little bit, and he started grappling heavy, and he pushed a really good pace. I just think Balaji is not going to get taken down. And I like the way Balaji strikes. He strikes with power. He doesn't get a lot of finishes, so I don't know if I'm going to go with a finish, but I think he has enough sprawling ability and just overall physicality to keep it on the feet or get up when he gets taken down. And I like Balaji kind of wild but technical strike. Those are opposite things, but it's true. He has a technical striking ability that he can adjust to wild scenarios when he needs to, which really, that sentence really doesn't mean anything at all. But I do like it in this fight with Mason Jones. You kind of have to meet his fire, and I think Balajiaki can do that while also being reserved at times if Mason Jones decides to back off, is what I'm saying. I think Balajiaki will not get tired or he won't gas out, and I think he'll be able to keep it on the feet, and he has a lot of power, and I think he might chin Mason Jones. Probably not, though, because Mason Jones is a really fucking good chin. But I'm going to go with the decision from Balajiaki. I just really like striking in this matchup for some reason. I just don't think Mason Jones has as good. I don't think he's going to be able to catch Balajiaki as much, as often as Aki will on the feet. And on the grappling department, I think Aki is good enough to keep it standing. Obviously, Mason Jones might hold him down for a bit, but I think Aki will get up. And I think when fists start flying, I think Aki will have the edge. So, Balajiaki by decision. Next, Modestas Bukauskas versus Paul Craig. This is sad because I always like going Paul Craig. I'm a big Paul Craig guy. He is the shittiest best fighter in the UFC. He has a submission over Magomed Ankalaev. He has a submission over Jamal Hill. He beats champions, but he can't beat random motherfuckers, and he's not going to beat Modestas Bukauskas. At this point in Paul Craig's career, he's just not improving whatsoever, which makes sense due to his age, but at the same time, he's improving. He has nothing to his game whatsoever, and he's not improving at all. So on the feet, he's completely lost. He only really has a body kick and a jab, and that's it. And his number one thing he does on the feet is keep his chin way the fuck up in the air. Modestas Bukauskas is a very tall man. He has a good amount of knockout power, and he's a striker that's going to strike, and he's going to knock out Paul Craig. Paul Craig has good jiu-jitsu off his back. Modestas Bukauskas is not going to take him down. Paul Craig could go for a takedown. I think Modestas will stuff it. If I'm Paul Craig, I'm shooting, but we do know that Paul Craig doesn't have a great offensive wrestling game. He doesn't go for the takedown as much as he just stands and kicks and shit and then waits for someone to take him down, and then he submits him. He submitted both Magomed Ankalaev and Jamal Hill with triangles, and I just think on the feet, Paul Craig is completely lost and his chin is destroyed by how many times he's been knocked out by everybody. So I think Modestas Bukauskas is going to win, sadly, and it's mainly on the fault of Paul Craig's game and his chin, because his chin is abysmal, and I think Modestas Bukauskas is going to find it. So, yeah, Modestas Bukauskas by knockout is what I'm going to go with. But Paul Craig could always get a random crazy submission. You never know. You really never know. Next, Benoit Saint Denis versus Mauricio Ruffi, the co-main event. Super sick fight. I've never been more confident in a pick ever in my entire life. That's not true, but I am going to go with Mauricio Ruffi to win this fight. Benoit Saint Denis has only shown me in his past recent performances that he is not good enough to hang with these top guys. And we don't 100% know if Mauricio Ruffi is yet. What we do know is Ruffi has incredibly technical, amazing, flowy striking that he can utilize in any fight against anybody. He's incredibly comfortable in the octagon, and he has everything a striker needs to be flashy and effective. Super fast, crazy out-of-pocket moves, and he had decent grappling in many of his fights. In his Contender Series or Ultimate Fighter, one of those, he fought a very good grappler and was able to stuff a lot of takedowns, reverse takedowns, end up in mount and TKO him in mount. Mauricio Ruffi, we don't know his takedown game to an amazing degree, which is the big risk of Benoit Saint Denis. Like, we don't know if Benoit is going to be able to take him down and hold him down, which is going to be the first thing Benoit Saint Denis does. Mark my words, Benoit is going to shoot a takedown in the first 10 seconds. He did it against a short notice guy he fought last, which he beat, but he took a round, and this dude took that shit on a week's notice. I just don't think Benoit Saint Denis had the tools. We know he gasses. We know Mauricio Ruffi's cardio is a little testy too with his fight against James Lontop. When he couldn't get him out of there, it started to get weird. It started to get shaky. But Benoit Saint Denis doesn't have great cardio either. His grappling is sloppy. His striking is really slow and sloppy. He got chinned by Poirier. He's going to get chinned by Mauricio Ruffi, who's insanely powerful and very effective at finding shots on the feet. That's his big thing. It's what's going to make him a star. It's what has already made him a star. He wheel kicked Bobby Green. I could see some crazy shit happening to Benoit Saint Denis. I don't think he has the best chin on earth whatsoever. And Denis just quits a little bit more. Or if he gets really sloppy quick, and Ruffy finds shots like no other fighter in the UFC, and Benoit is gonna get chinned. There's a 95% chance that happens in my brain. I'm gonna bet money on this fight, and I don't bet money on fights very often. I'm gonna bet money on this fight. I'm that confident in Mauricio Ruffy to knock out Benoit Saint Denis. We'll see what the grappling though. We'll see what the grappling is about though, because we don't really know if Mauricio Ruffy's cardio can handle a super heavy grappling round or two that Benoit Saint Denis might want to do. So, next, Nassourdine Imavov versus Caio Borralho, the main event. This one's extremely tricky for me to predict because they're very similar to me in my brain. They're very similar heights, kind of builds, the way they're both really well-rounded and solid. They both have had similar careers with some finishes, some decisions, close fights, all that. So it's really hard to pick somebody here. But there's this weird gut feeling I have in my soul that Caio Borralho is going to win this fight somehow, some way. I just have a really big gut feeling that Caio's going to win. Nassourdine Imavov is coming off a way better win than Caio is. He beat Israel Adesanya in his last fight. Caio beat Jared Cannonier. Those are very different opponents, but at the same time, Imavov has had weird performances against people like Brendan Allen. The performance against Brendan Allen, it's weird because I think Brendan Allen is actually dog shit, and he made it decently competitive, at least in the first round against Imavov. And there's just fights like the Dolidze fight where he made it a little bit too close with Dolidze, and I know Caio's kind of had similar performances like that. I just have a feeling Caio Borralho is going to be able to strike with him. I think Imavov has a very technical, sound, tight-knit striking offense and defense. He's very good at both. I think Caio's going to be a little bit more erratic. I think he'll be a little bit more wild. I think he's going to take a little bit of like detail from his fighting nerd companions. And also, I think he's going to feed off the momentum of them a bit. And if anybody's getting better at this point in their career, I think it's going to be Caio. With the way their team is looking and the way they're all coming up, maybe I'm going off of just hype for this prediction. That might be a possibility, but I think Caio's going to be able to be wild enough to find shots on Imavov on the feet and make it kind of crazy. And he's going to start gloating a little bit. And I think he's going to start moving forward. And I don't think Imavov is going to be able to grapple him as well as you would think. I think Caio Borralho is going to have a good takedown defense. I think Imavov is going to be the one shooting takedowns, if anybody is going to be. But I think Caio's going to stuff him. I think he's going to be on the feet. Nassourdine, he's technical. He's very good on the feet. Very good. And I could see him tagging up Caio at times. But when things get weird, when things get tiresome, when the cardio starts being in effect, I think Caio Borralho is going to start landing shots and is going to be more comfortable in that weird, wild environment. And this might just be fighting nerds hype in my brain, but I really think Caio Borralho is going to win. And this is neck and neck for me. I really don't think Caio should be the favorite. I think that's crazy. I think Imavov should definitely be the favorite. He's coming off a win against Israel Adesanya by knockout. But I just think Caio has the momentum, strangely enough, around him and in his camp to get the slight edge on Imavov in this fight. I think the world is kind of pointing him in a direction with his team and everything, and it's all pointing to this. And after this, he gets a title shot, and it's against Hamzat, and that's one of the biggest fights ever. If we can get a couple nerds on that card, we can get Caio versus Hamzat, and then Gene Silva if he beats Diego Lopez against Volk. That's fucking blockbuster. I'm believing in a little bit of fate here, but I'm going to go with Caio Borralho to win. And I'm going to go by decision. I don't think he's going to chin Imavov. It's going to be hard to do that. He could maybe submit him. I doubt it. Imavov has really good grappling. I think it's going to be a decision, and I think Caio's going to do a little bit more. And honestly, if I know they're in France. They're in Paris. But if it's going to go to a decision, it's going to be really close. I think they're going to go with the nerd. I think the nerds have a lot of fucking hype. And Caio Borralho versus Hamza is one of the biggest fights you can make right now. Especially if Kyle goes in there and destroys Imavov. And Ruffy, after knocking out Benoit, which is going to happen, I think that's huge. And if it's a close decision, I bet you they're going to go with Caio. So, those are my thoughts about that. The whole main card. Let me know what you think. I will see you soon.